to see. If you don't want to let it be, if you can't set yourself free, take your mind into another place and time. Free yourself up to find the universal mind. The universal mind. The universal mind.
Live from Hollywood, it's Paranormal Tonight. I'm Mark Summers, and now, here's your host, Dan Harary.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Live from Hollywood. It's Paranormal Tonight. Technically, this is live from Beverly Hills, California. I always feel guilty because the name of my show isn't exactly correct, but, you know, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, it's all the same thing. We have a really fun show tonight, two very special guests. I don't want to horse around up front too much, but I will say that earlier this year, I had the honor of being interviewed on their show, and I had so much fun. I invited them to be on my dopey show tonight, and they agreed. And I also had a chance to spend a little bit of time with them very briefly during Contact in the Desert in late May, early June. And David was kind enough to be on my panel, and we had a good time. So these are really lovely guys, and I'm just going to jump in, get them on the screen, and we'll take it away. So I'll read the little bio here. Thomas Wheeler. Tom Wheeler is a talented writer and producer, recognized for his contributions to film and television. He's worked on various projects spanning multiple genres, showcasing his versatility and storytelling prowess. You don't hear that word prowess very often in a bio. Some of his notable work includes Cursed, the Lego Ninjago movie, Puss in Boots, and The Cape. Dave Foley is a versatile Canadian actor, comedian, writer, and producer known for his exceptional talents. I love it. He has the word exceptional in his own bio. I think that's awesome. For his exceptional talents in the worlds of entertainment. With a career spanning several decades, David has established himself as a beloved figure in both film and TV. While he's probably best known for his role on The Kids in the Hall, everyone knows him for that, but he's also been on many other hits such as Veep, NewsRadio, Young Sheldon, Fargo, and the film Blast from the Past, which is a personal favorite of mine and my daughter's. We love that movie. Their show, Really, with Tom and Dave, really question mark exclamation point with Tom and Dave, is a fast-growing podcast which has gained a wide audience in a short amount of time. Tom and Dave interview the most compelling and credible journalists, researchers, and government officials on the front lines of exotic UFO alien technology, and they try to break down fact from fiction in a world where Congress has passed groundbreaking bipartisan legislation to study UFOs and investigate secret access programs that may be hiding crashed otherworldly crafts. Well, I'm certainly believe that that's the case, and they should talk to Michael Schratt because I interviewed him last week and he knows all about that stuff. Tom and Dave have interviewed many of the world's leading UFO experts, researchers, and disclosure advocates, and I am honored and proud to call them my friends. And Race, let's bring these guys in here. Hey, hi-oh.
Hello, Dan.
Hello, Dave Foley. Hello, Tom Wheeler. How are you?
Exceptional Dave Foley.
Yeah, well, that's one of the advantages of never writing your own bio.
I was like, where's that? Where the hell's that come from?
Who the hell puts exceptional? Yeah, who puts? I mean, it must be Chrissy.
Can't be right. Listen.
I haven't written a bio or taken a headshot in 25 years.
You know, I had to write your bio to put you on my cocktail Hollywood disclosure line. I wrote your bio.
One. Yeah, I don't have one.
I'll write you one, Dave. I'm going to write yours, and I'm going to use all those cool words.
All right.
I didn't write. I'm prowess. I didn't know I had any prowess.
Prowess.
But,
who the hell? Where's the prowess and the exceptional? I mean, you guys have a good publicist, clearly.
Versatile.
Apparently.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's good to see you, sir.
Thank you very much. Hey, Tom, you still have to join my HDA, by the way.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. What do I sign?
I just need your bio and your photo. I can write it.
Okay, we're going to switch out that bio though.
Okay. I'll write one up for you.
I'm going to lose the word prowess because I could not even pronounce that word correctly.
Yeah. You might and if there's a typo, you'll get accused of being a prowler.
Prowler. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
David, how's New York City? You're in Manhattan right now?
Yeah, New York's fine. Yeah. It's finally cooling off a little finally.
Good.
Yeah, so it's nice.
You know, before we start, I just wanted to ask, and I have not yet. Have either of you had a chance to read Lou Elizondo's book, Imminent? Have you read it yet?
This one?
There you go.
I have.
It's on my Kindle.
Yeah,
I'm in it right now. I'm imminently into Imminent.
Yes, I picked. I got a hardcover. I got a Kindle version, and I got the Audible.
But do you have the NFT? I mean, really?
No, really. Is he? Are you getting kickbacks? What's going on? That's a lot of. That's a lot of copies of Imminent.
It's a lot of Lou, man. That's a lot of Lou.
I know. It's just one is the listening in bed or on planes. The Kindle is so you can actually maybe make some bookmarks and things.
Right.
And the other one is just so I can hold it up on camera. There.
Mm-hmm. Look at you.
Yeah, I know a lot about it, of course. What do you guys think so far, either of you?
I think it's fantastic, really interesting, and more just flat out blunt about what he knows than I was really expecting.
I heard that there are pages of retracted black magic marker in there, which I think that's a great PR idea, if that's true.
Yeah, I thought I'd like that too.
Yeah. In the audiobook, it just says redacted. You just hear Lou.
Or they just play some music for a little while.
Redacted. You know.
Oh yeah, redacted. Yeah, that's great. Someone just told me that the other day. Okay, so I always like to get to know a little bit about my guests' personal stuff, a little bit. So Tom, where are you from originally? I really don't know where you're from, what your parents did, what kind of things were you interested in as a child?
I should have asked these things 20 years ago.
Let's see. Let's go through. I'm a Philly guy, so grew up outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Remain an avid Philly sports fan. My mother was a reporter for the news at KYW TV and an actress. She trained with Sanford Meisner at the Neighborhood Playhouse, and my father had his own children's television show for 20 or 30 years in and around the St. Louis and Baltimore and DC and Philly. So it was very much around a kind of sort of performance atmosphere, and did some writing and acting was interested in that as a kid. Came out here after a little stint at NYU and to seek my whatever I was seeking. Little brief lost for a little minute, and then kind of stumbled into this screenwriting biz and managed to sell some scripts and got going in that world. I was, and as far as sort of this topic, I was profoundly affected. I did have some kind of sort of early paranormal experiences, which we may or may not, I'm happy to talk about. But I was really moved by Whitley Strieber's Communion at about 16.
Okay.
In a way that sort of startled my parents, because I was like writing to Whitley, but I think one night I made them all go out to like Valley Forge Park at night, and I brought like a journal and a backpack, and I was having a real kind of I was sure they were coming. Speaking of imminent, that's what it gave me, the feeling that something was imminent. And I remember my mom and dad just going like, what in the hell is going on? It was just very out of character for me, very out of character. And I don't know, it was funny when years later we had the chance to, interview Whitley and meet him up north at the Soul Foundation. And I was just really, really moved by that. It was kind of amazing to kind of connect with him after all that time. But Yeah, that's kind of me. And now I do this kind of, I exhibit my prowess in various media platforms.
Mhm.
Good use of the word prowess.
Thank
Do you
you.
think
Trying.
do you think you were a contactee as a child? I mean, what gave you that? I guess the book itself, the cover. Like, a lot of people saw that cover and wrote to Whitley Strieber. So.
I am absolute weird sleeper. My wife will attest.
Can we add that into your bio?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not in there. It's in every time I put it in. So I had very, very lucid dreams in high school. Didn't have anything that stood out as abduction material. Subsequently, I had one or two experiences that could qualify, but something about my dream life felt different, felt exceptional to me, and I, for some reason, really connected with it. And I don't rule it out. And we had some ghost experiences early in life, and I do think there's a little bit of. We've talked a lot about the possible go-between in terms of that phenomenon, and
Right.
so I can't say in that time of my life that there was a specific abduction experience, but for sure I was moved by what he had been through to an extreme degree.
It spoke to you. There must have been a reason that it spoke to you. Clearly, David, childhood, parents, early life.
My mother was English, therefore I don't know much else about her. Father was an Irish drunk, pipe fitter, and nothing exceptional. Very very much like a working class Canadian childhood. What else was about the question?
I mean, were you into, like Tom? I mean, Tom's parents were essentially in show business.
Yeah, my parents were not.
So how did you make your own path into show business?
And here's the actual weird thing is I found out after I had started trying to find my path in show business when I was I'd started doing stand up and was doing and the Kids in the Hall were forming.
But you were like what, 15? When you were doing stand up early, right?
At 17 I started doing stand up. Yeah.
That's young. Yeah.
And then but then I found out my Aunt Jean came from England. And I found out that my mom and my Aunt Jean had both studied acting at Stratford, and had
Really?
like taken courses there. And they had like Denham Elliott and was one of their instructors.
Wow.
And that they actually had walk-on parts, when they were young, and they were both really interested in acting. And I didn't know this, and my mother never mentioned it because, as I pointed out, she's English, and
but so was your aunt. Your aunt was too.
Yeah, but I guess there's she was more of an atypical English woman, I guess. Or maybe because she was talking mostly about my mom and telling me stories about my mom I didn't know. So it's a little detachment for her.
So both of you have show business literally in your blood. Both of you do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was born in a trunk, is what I was trying to say.
You and Jerry Lewis. I think Jerry Lewis was born in a dresser drawer or something like that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, so you guys teamed up last year and created your really podcast, and essentially you deemed to focus on UFOs, extraterrestrials, anomalous things. Why did you go that direction, and instead of just paranormal, writ large? Why did you focus so much on UFOs and aliens?
Well, when we started, we kind of talked about doing I think we sort of originally planned on it being a broader topic, broader topics than it turned out to be, because the UFO world just got so crazy right after we started.
That's right.
But we had planned. I mean, then we talked about like branching out into other elements of what is reality, like looking into quantum physics and hauntings and other aspects of paranormal. But then UFOs just kept jumping to the foreground every week. Which
came first, the podcast or Dave Grush testifying? Which came first?
We started before Grush.
Podcast, yeah,
we started before Grush. A little over a year ago.
We hadn't hung out in a while because I think you were in New York, and my wife No, it was Chrissy and my wife, and we're friends, and we've been
two
friends for 20
Chrissies.
years. And yes, the two Chrissies, and so I was getting kind of like reports sometimes of like what Dave was up to or this, that, and the other thing. But we'd kind of, I don't know, we hadn't talked in a minute, and my wife was like, Dave's like really into UFOs, and he's been really like kind of studying them, and I hadn't studied them in a while. I hadn't, and I was like, is everything good with him? Is everything okay? Like, what's happening? And we ended up having all of the four of us having dinner. And of course, as Dave does, he's done all the reading and met all the people and had it was a super interesting dinner and really eye-opening. And
now
I was
Tom's
fascinated.
not okay either.
Now I'm completely fucked up. Excuse me.
I don't think we can do that on this network.
Okay,
so.
my bad.
Sorry, Margie K. owner.
Sorry. But I was just amazed, and we were all in the middle of the writer's strike. So I had some extra time, and we started talking about doing this podcast and talking about all these possible, our simulation theory, and talking to futurists and thinking about what does constitute reality and what is the UAP phenomenon really. And as we go, we just had a great time doing it. It was wonderful to meet these people that I typically would not meet in my regular life here in my office, writing my stuff in my jogging pants. But it was also great to hang out with Dave and get a chance to, hang out and explore this remarkable, ever-branching topic together. So it was win-win-win.
You've had, you've had like pretty much the who's who of ufology on in just the last year and a half. Who would be on your hit list that you've not yet interviewed, if you could?
Well, of course.
Hold up the book, Dave. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Lou. And although I was actually messaging with Lou, but of course, we're now on a bit of a hiatus from really.
I know we took a little summer hiatus. We're back to it very, very soon. What did Lou say?
He just did George Knapp last week on the Coast to Come. I would think he would do your show.
Yeah. Oh no, he had said that as soon as he was out to promote the book, he would do the podcast.
We've been flirting for years here. Now
I think he was planning on doing it when he came through LA, but of course, I'm not there, and we weren't doing anything at the time.
Bad time.
So I said, well, we'll try and catch up with you. But he's definitely has said he will do really when.
I've been very impressed by where he's been everywhere. I mean, it's been a really, really cool rollout for him. I mean, CNN,
New York Times. Oh yeah,
yeah,
major News Nation. Yeah, he's got a good publicist. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, he's been out there, and I guess it's made the New York Times bestseller list already.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll stay there. It'll stay there for a little while. That'd be great.
I hope so. And again, people are paying attention. I know a lot of people were disappointed at the brevity of his CBS morning appearance. But they took it seriously, which is like, a new thing, when with mainstream, commercial media, actually having him on. They didn't play any creepy music, and they actually apologized for not having more time to talk about it.
Yeah, no more X-Files theme music and Little Green Men and chuckle, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah. Have either of you ever met Eric Von Daniken?
No.
I met him last year at Alien Con. It's so funny. He's the godfather of pretty much the modern day. He and Zechariah Sitchin, the godfathers of modern day ufology. But at Alien Con, you have to pay $50. You stand in an incredibly long line. And you get literally, if you get 30 seconds, I would say that's a lot. Probably it's more like 20 seconds.
Oh, you lost me at $50. I'm very cheap.
Yeah. And my hold on, where is it? My UFO book. I just literally had come out the day before Alien Con last year after the coup. And I'm like, I want to give my book to Eric Von Daniken. So I'm in line for, an hour and a half. And you paid the $50 and you're like, there he is. For me, like, look, it's like meeting Paul McCartney or Ringo. He's like the Beatles of ufology, this guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I get him. I go, Eric, so nice to meet you. Shake his hand. He goes, okay, come on, hurry up. You get a picture for $50. Come on, let's go. And I go, well, hold on. I'm like, hold on. I have a book for you. I just wrote this book. I put it in his hands. Oh, I haven't read this one yet. I go, Eric, it came out yesterday. That's probably why you haven't. I put his hand, and he goes, okay, let's go. Come on, let's go. And he puts the armor, and I'm doing the thing with the picture. And I said, Eric, it would mean the world to me if you read it, and if you get a chance to let me know what you think. Oh yeah, sure, I'll read it. And then he throws it across the room to his assistant. Carl, here, put this on the next. So it was like wham bam, thank you, man, with Eric. But I have a great picture. I have a fantastic picture. He looks like he's my grandfather. So yeah. I think it was worth the $50.
Now I remember sitting in the Albion Mall Odeon Theater and watching the Chariots of the Gods when I was a little kid.
When it came out, when the movie came out. Wow.
Yeah, right in Rexdale, Ontario.
To this day, according to Steve Bassett, who's one of my best friends, B, I spent all day with him Monday. Every major holiday, he knocks on my door and we go to the deli. He says Chariots of the Gods was the only major documentary on this topic ever released theatrically to this day. And you think about it, you go, yeah. And that was like 1969, 1970. There's not been a documentary in theaters since then.
It was definitely a big deal at the time. Well, the book was a big deal at the time too.
Oh yeah. I discovered it in 2007, and I'm like, whoa, my mind was blown. It really changed me.
Mm-hmm. When is that? Right, there's a new James Fox thing out too, isn't there?
Coming out soon? Yeah. All right. I forget what it's called. The program, is that what it's called?
Does he have a distribution? Because I know all about the problems they're all having. The documentary filmmakers,
Yeah,
I know. I thought it was Netflix, but I could be wrong. But
good for him. I hope so, because there was a company 1091, and they ripped everyone off, and they owe millions and millions of dollars. Then there was something called Ad Astra, and that was the Great White Hope, and that went down in less than a year. So now all these guys, and Ron James is a good friend of mine. He's a documentary film. He's a good friend of mine. He's looking for distribution. So they're scrambling. There isn't really one entity that can help those guys.
It's tough out there,
okay, so we're all in Hollywood at different degrees. And David, you were kind enough to be on my panel at Contact in the Desert, but
be on it. I think I led it. I think
you did. Listen, I'll tell you. Afterwards, I was like, "Okay, girls, here I am." I'm at the lip of the stage.
Mr. Bassett, just wait. I'll handle this.
I'm waiting for girls to come. Dan, can I have your order? And Dave Foley, and he was like being with Ringo. I mean, Dave, you were like Ringo that day. No one came with crap about me. Everyone wanted to meet Dave Foley. What should Hollywood and the entertainment industry, in your opinions, be doing to, propel the disclosure movement? How should they treat UFOs and aliens and all this in films and TV shows? What responsibility, if any, should Hollywood have, do you guys think?
I think there's sort of two tracks to this, I would say. One is I believe they need to and are about to start paying much closer attention to real life stories and present them in a way that isn't utterly sensational or really specifically genre. Like, let's start telling first of all, it's just incredible drama. And secondly, there is more than enough institutional cover, let's say. There's enough institutional backup for this phenomenon to tell these stories now and tell true stories and start bringing to light some of these kind of, heroes and journalists and people that have toiled in the background and worked to get this, whether it's Lou or George Knapp or Jeremy or like just people that have, or Jacques Vallée or who, there's fascinating people on the front lines dealing with this. And it's the story of the millennium, obviously. So I think I do feel like there's, the conversations I have, the sense of appetite and hunger for these sorts of stories, you still will find the kind of blank stares, and then you'll get people who are like, oh, I'm totally into this. I can't wait, like really just eager for information. So I think that's super encouraging. And I think in the next couple of years, we'll see a lot of this in kind of more dramatic formats that are, not horror movies or not something really specifically genre. And then I would say that, I don't know, the UFO community on social media needs to like give less of be less interested in these acronym programs. Like to me, like everything I saw about Lou's book which is obviously full of content and interesting revelations, and it's just been like OSAP and ATIP and Arrow and all this stuff that
I can't keep any of them
that
together.
nobody cares. Just like to the UFO world at large, like nobody cares. I mean, I'm sure the people in the programs care, but nobody who wants to know about this phenomenon, I don't think it matters. So I guess from a standpoint, I've been looking at it going, this is the stuff that puts people to sleep, like the people that we wanted to reach out to in our podcast, like be a bridge to like, okay, if you're not really paying attention, this is what's going on in the kind of holistic sense. That's what sort of puts them to sleep. So I don't know. I feel sort of the conversation needs to be a little different kind of online and social media, but I think in the sort of Hollywood world of movies and TV, I'm hopeful, very hopeful.
I think that's great. Dave, I'll come back to you. I have to take a little break. We'll be right back, Grace. Let's rock with some commercials. We'll be right back.
While most near-death experiencers return to this plane of existence with alluring tales of their time spent in the presence of the divine, what happens when one crosses the veil into the afterlife, into the void? In the new book, Dying to Meet Them, Mindy Toutfest describes her journey to the afterlife after a devastating aneurysm, how a strange turn of events would lead her to spiritual growth, divine healing, UFO experiences, and a greater understanding of the universe. Get your copy of Dying to Meet Them today at Amazon.com or visit unxmedia.com for more information on this book and more amazing selections from UnX Media Publishing at unxmedia.com.
This is Margie Kay, and I'd like to say thank you to all of our KUNX show hosts, staff, listeners, and viewers for making us number one on Paranormal Talk Radio.
This September 6th through the 13th, join with like-minded souls in the experience of a lifetime on the Royal Caribbean Ovation of the Seas as we travel from Seattle to Alaska. Internationally renowned researchers, investigators, experiencers, authors, holistic healers, contactees, spiritual luminaries will sail on an extraordinary voyage of transformation. This cruise will explore UFOs, alien contact, cover-ups, ancient mysteries, the paranormal, holistic healing, and spirituality. Experience engaging lectures, one-on-one sessions, private, custom-tailored excursions, and a nightly UFO watch. The cruise is booking up fast. Go to contactatsea.com and be sure to mention the UnX Network when you book. That's contactatsea.com or phone 336-749-1219. That's 336-749-1219.
Oh, usually they have another 2.5 minute promo. I was falling asleep. Okay, Ray, let's bring back our friends. And there we go. Okay, so just
first question, Tom, why aren't we on that cruise?
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, what the hell?
Jesus, I'm gonna go to Alaska.
I was asked, and I turned it down. How about that?
I think.
Oh, really?
Surely they could kick out Richard Doty and
Steve Bassett.
I saw a couple.
If you want, I'll hook you up with the woman who called me to invite me. Anyway, Tom, on your point, and then I want to hear from Dave. But Tom, on your point, last year Steve Bassett and I became friends. We created the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance last summer into the fall. Today we're a year old. We have almost 200 members, and the premise, Tom, is exactly what you said, man. Half of our members are UFO experiencers, researchers, and disclosure advocates. The other half are Hollywood writers, producers, directors, performers. And we have a very active Slack channel. We've had a few live events, and we have another one coming up on September 22nd. In fact, Tom, if you're in town, 22nd, you should come. It's in Studio City.
Great.
You could
Cool.
walk there.
Okay.
But it's a network by which stories of real life people who have had real life paranormal experiences are talking to Hollywood producers and writers, and they're melding their stories together. There's a TV show that's in progress, in development right now, that came through HDA. I'm involved with it. We're calling it Jason Bourne Meets the X-Files. So it just happened that HDA was designed to do exactly what you said, Tom. And
it's good. It's great that you're doing it.
I'm thrilled to be part of it. Okay, Dave, how should Hollywood handle UFOs and aliens? Your turn.
Well, Tom's answer was so good.
It really was.
Yeah, I mean that really
prowess.
I think it's being like anything is, if Hollywood, if creators, writers, producers become aware that the UFO story is a real story and involves real people, then I think you have to bring the same level of empathy you would bring to any other subject matter to this subject, to be aware of the fact that that you can actually harm a lot of people by giving into sort of the old-fashioned stigma, and that it can actually be quite damaging to people who've already suffered as a result of past stigma. So I think becoming more aware of the fact that both UFOs are real and that the people who experience them are real people, and bringing more, bring empathy to the human beings who have been caught up in this story.
That's great. I'm gonna add that quote onto the Hollywood Disclosure website.
Mm-hmm.
That both of you guys, that was excellent. Thank you very much. Think about it.
We're both very smart guys.
Well, you're exceptional, and you have a lot of prowess. Both,
yes,
really.
Oh, it's my word.
Clearly,
Dave's exceptional.
Dave is exceptional.
Yeah.
Well, God, what was I going to say, man? Tom,
I was going to, I would just, the one thing I would say is, like, I don't think, we talk about disclosure. I feel like there's a, kind of creeping disclosure going on. It's not one lightning bolt, right? It's just sort of brick after brick after brick to undo what was done, in the 50s with, or Condon reports or whatever,
the 40s. Truman, Truman started it, man. Truman knew all about Roswell. Yeah. Truman knew about Roswell in 47. He had Walter Haut retract. All right, so I'm a publicist. I've done thousands and thousands of press releases, right? Walter Haut, this poor bastard, right? He's the publicist for Roswell, the Army base. He puts a press release. We have an alien craft. It runs all over the world. The next day, we had all over the world. They're getting phone calls from every corner. Truman, this is my imagination. Truman's head had to have exploded and said, "Who the hell are these assholes? These asses to announce to the world that there's aliens? I mean, who are these guys?" So the next day, oh no, weather balloon, and that's what happened. But I don't know where we're going with that. I was going to say historically, there's the Betty and Barney Hill story, which really happened. That was a very crappy movie, but it was a movie. Very bad movie, but it was a movie.
TV movie, I believe. Yeah.
movie.
James Earl Jones and I forget who else.
Esther.
Betty.
Esther something. Kathy Martin's a friend of mine. She did not like that movie. There's Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton, who I met at contacting. But in all of the people, tens of thousands of people around the world, in the last 80 years who have had experiences, you could name on one hand the entertainment features that have come from that. So both of you guys, there's a plethora of stories out there. Absolutely.
I was just thinking, like, I can only think of, if we think about prestige movies that are, dramas that aren't trying to be any, you've got Close Encounters, right? Which was, 50 years ago, this was 40 years ago. You've got, Communion. They made an effort, but it was not great. Not great.
Contact, Arrival, E.T.
And they're all they're all fictional, right? They're all nothing's based on true stories, and that really is this sort of that's the line that has to be crossed, and big filmmakers have to take it on, and that requires a little bit of courage within someone's got to step forward with that talent and that sort of pull to get movies made, to say, yes, this is legitimate and we're going to treat it legitimately. And And I think, we're close. It's just another institution that has to buckle a little bit, like the Pentagon, like efforts from Lou Elizondo to just sort of shake out a little bit of truth. And so I think the Hollywood will be next.
Absolutely. Yeah, very good. I asked this question in my HDA panel at Contact, but I really like this question, so I'm going to ask it again. Dave, I'll go with you first because I don't remember your answers. Mm-hmm. Historically, as kids, as teens, in your 20s, whatever, what are some of your favorite UFO alien movies, TV shows, content, books, things that spoke to you? I mean, Close Encounters, I've seen 60 times and I cry every single time at the end, every time. So
yes,
anything, David, that spoke to you?
Well, definitely Close Encounters is way up there amongst others. And also it ties into what I said earlier. It was a movie that was mostly about the impact of an alien encounter on human beings. The movie is mostly not about UFOs or aliens. Right. It's mostly about what does having this experience do to your life.
Right.
Dreyfuss's character, you see how it actually, it ruins his life, ruins everything in his life. He loses everything because of having seen something. But for me, I think movies like I loved the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still was a big one for me as a kid. But again, I always point out that it's much more of a retelling of the Christ story than really a UFO movie.
Right. Because he comes, he gets wounded, and then he leaves at the end, and he rises. Literally rises. He rises.
He gets killed and he rises. Yeah, the robot brings him back to life. Yeah. And and his name is John Carpenter, which is JC, and Christ was a carpenter.
I never thought of that. That's great.
I need to rewatch.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. The Keanu Reeves version was good, but it was not the original's classic.
Yeah, the original's is a beautiful movie. Yeah, Robert Wise, great director.
I used to urinate with him at the American Film Institute many times. It's in my book. It's in my book, Flirting with Fame.
You and Robert Wise, would you make plans for this? Would it be...
We both worked at AFI.
I'm going to be there.
We both worked at AFI at the same time. I was a lowly secretary. He was the professor emeritus, whatever that word is, of directing. And every single time one of us had to pee, the other guy was in the men's room, and we peed together. I don't know how many hundreds of times. And every time we'd look at each other and go, "We have to stop meeting this way." It was Robert Wise. I mean,
emeritus.
I see the word, but I can't say it. All right, Tom, favorite UFO stuff.
It just made me realize I think I once peed next to Matt McConaughey. I think I got a shy bladder, to tell you the truth. I think I wasn't prepared.
He was so dreamy. For Daddy.
I once pulled Andy Dick away from Sid Caesar at a urinal.
I represented Sid Caesar for 2 years.
Really? I stopped him from beating. I stopped him from beating Andy Dick up in the men's room.
I could see that. Okay. Yeah, Sid was he was an angry man. That guy.
That's a
Tom,
podcast
UFO,
itself.
TVs, and
make
movies.
A note, Dave. I mean, an unoriginal answer would be James Cameron's Aliens. Just probably out of a fondness for the screenwriting structure of that movie. I just think it's one of the best thrillers ever structured. It's just every sequence is genius in that movie, and I can't quite get my wife and son, I can't get my family to watch and appreciate Aliens, but I insist that it is a absolute Bible for storytelling structure. In terms of the phenomenon, I mean, I wept terribly at E.T. I mean, I just was so, I was that kid. I mean, I was
we all did.
80s kid, that was just blown to pieces. I remember how terrible the trailer was. It sounded so ridiculous. It was like E.T. the extraterrestrial and his adventures on Earth, and you're like, what? Who titles a movie? I just remember thinking like, that's a piece of junk. And then just like my popcorn just floating in the box, and just and then of course showed it to my kids, and they were just horrified that I would make them have to endure the pain. Everybody's always asking, like, is something going to happen to E.T.? Is something going to happen to E.T.? And I'm like, of course. Yeah. Like, that's the whole point. Something's going to happen to E.T. They'll fix him and he'll get better. But
he's going to die and be resurrected. Another Christ story.
There you go. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Kevin McDonald and I from kids, we were movie ushers when E.T. was running. And and at the time, there was also two things wouldn't happen anymore. For one thing, there was a promotion that we gave out free Reese's Pieces to every customer.
M&M's turned that movie down.
Yeah,
and Reese's Pieces outsold M&M's that year.
And so Kevin and I would be there, and basically there would come the time when E.T. dies. And Kevin and I would go, okay, ready? And suddenly all these crying kids would start streaming out of the theater. And so we would say, look, it's okay. If you want, you can leave your kids with us and you can go back in and watch the rest of the movie. So that wouldn't happen anymore.
No, I don't think so.
And you would
that shouldn't have happened then.
Yeah. And you would not give out a peanut butter based candy.
Here, little boy. You want
kill
some?
the kids.
Kill them. Yeah. And our
abducted and killed with allergens. Yeah, I love it.
That's wrong on so many levels, Dave.
Oh yeah, so all these parents they'd go back in and watch the rest of the movie, and the kids would all sit out eating.
They had to choose between Dave and Kevin
Reese's
looming
Pieces.
over them, and or go back in to subject themselves to more ET. That's
It's
tough.
going to be called The Kids in the Hall with Candy.
Yeah. We look like fairly innocuous young 20-year-old men.
I can only imagine
so
those blazers.
did Lee Harvey Oswald. So I would come on.
Yeah. He was framed.
Yeah,
They
didn't have three names.
He was a very small cog on a very large wheel. We could do a whole show on that sometime. Dave, I know you saw a UFO with Jeremy Corbell in the recent past. Tell me about your UFO sighting, or if you've had many. If you've had many.
No, just the one so far that I'm aware of. Although it was just I was out with Jeremy and I were walking his dog in an orange grove, and beautiful night, and I sort of turned to looked at what a beautiful night it was, and was watching all the commercial air traffic in the distance, and said, boy, this would be a great night to see something. And 30 seconds later, Jeremy goes, Dave, turn around. And we saw this sort of triangular orange thing off in the distance on the horizon, and we watched it circle the valley we were in till it got right in front of us, hung in front of us for about a minute, and then it disappeared behind the mountains. And neither of us had ever seen anything before that. Even though, Jeremy, obviously has dedicated his whole adult life to the subject, and I've, been curious about it, and had been I had sort of immersed myself in the UFO community going back about a little over 10 years ago now, I guess.
Did you even think about pulling out your iPhone and take a picture?
I didn't even think about it, and neither of us said anything or had any emotion during the whole experience. And at one point, Jeremy goes, I'm not even going to try to take a picture, which I thought, even in my head, I'm going, that's weird. But I didn't say anything. And then, neither one of us really spoke or addressed what was going on until after it disappeared.
Did your heart beat fast, or were your hands shaking at all?
No, neither of us had any. That's the thing. The weirdest thing about it was our response. The weirdest thing about it was that we had no response at all.
Yeah. It was calming. It was like calming for you.
It was just neutral. It was just a completely neutral moment, like of just going, okay. And as I said to Jeremy later, I felt like all of our, some force outside of us was tamping down all of our emotions. And it was like there was a sense of just, all right, we'll just pay attention and, keep calm and pay attention to what you're seeing. And that's, and then I didn't do it. Like the next day, I did a drawing of it because I wanted to be able to remember what it looked like and make sure I, see, am I imagining this? And I sent the drawing to Jeremy, and he said, yeah, no, that's exactly what we saw.
Do you guys know Michael Schratt? Do you know
Not
Michael
personally.
Schratt? Okay, so I interviewed him last week. He illustrates with remarkable clarity and colors, and he illustrates UFO stories, well-researched stories. He recreates them as a piece of artwork, and I'm telling you, it's the best thing you'll ever see in your life. You should interview him. He has a presentation, and he has Roswell and many other famous and not famous crashes that he rendered in full color, and you go, oh my God. And they're so accurate because it's all based on real research that he's done for 20 years. He's a good guy he's a cool guy to know.
Go ahead.
Go on. No, you on.
I just wondered if there was like a volume of his work had been, or is there
dark. Oh, I'll email you. I think it's called Dark Skies. dark something. I'll email it to you afterwards.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. All right, Tom, how about you? Tom, any UFOs, ETs, aliens, abductions, anything? Ghosts? You said ghosts.
Yeah, lots of ghosts, and a probably UFO encounter.
I mean, I'm processing the last year or two just because I feel a need to just apply more scrutiny to just having done this. I think about the hitchhiker phenomenon a lot. You know, my eyes are in the sky a lot more now, and I'm just trying to sort of filter. But I would say there's a couple standouts. One, I was really young, 6 or 7, living in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. My mother.
Which sounds made up already.
I know, right? It's my Stephen King. That's my main. You know,
Is that where you developed your prowess?
Yeah. Well, no, a few years later. This was we were living in a schoolhouse that had a room or two added to it, but the house itself was like 200 years old. We're renting it. There's a couple stories with just the house itself, but I have a vivid memory of standing at night on the little hill. We overlooked this pasture, and it did have a kind of pasture and then went down, and then there was woods beyond. It was farmland really all around us. And it was my mom and a neighbor or two, and I just know they're going, "What is that? What is that?" And over, and I can't personally recall. I was too young, but I do. So something was in the sky. They were seeing something at night. I know the following day or a day or two later, my mom walks me down about a quarter of a mile to this field across from this farm, and there's now a couple more neighbors who are walking around this burned ring in the field. And even at that age, I was aware, or my mom told me, I mean, it was about a 50-foot circle of burned material, and my mom was basically telling him, or my understanding was something had landed there, or that they were connecting the two events. And at that age, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, that happens. I mean, you're too young to. It's not like today I'd be like, okay, well, it's fine. You're just kind of like, okay, this happens. And to be honest, it was that kind of time of my life where we were in this house with these things would happen. There was houses in the neighborhood or nearby that had real paranormal things. It was just part of the texture of the time. And then one other thing I would mention was, years and years later, I'm 19, maybe 20, and I'm living in an apartment on Cochrane Avenue in LA.
Sure.
My girlfriend, ultimately my wife, but we would sort of argue, and I'd go to our separate place. She lived like a block away, and so we'd sort of like scrap, and then I'd go in. So I'm sort of alone in my apartment. Super creepy. The whole building was super creepy. I had a dream. And a weird dreamer. I had a dream that I'm hanging out with I'm hanging out with like Tom Hanks or something. I'm having a lovely dream, like a lovely, it's kind of like and it was almost too lovely, like it was like cherry blossoms and almost like it looked like a Ridley Scott legend set. And anyway, in the dream, I became aware that something was observing me, and I realized the whole dream was being kind of concocted for my distraction. That I was being distracted in my dream for something watching me. Well, that was enough of a bother that woke me up. And I woke up with sleep paralysis, which I have all the time. I mean, a couple times definitely 6 or 7 times a month, let's say.
Really? To this day?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's amazing. It happened to me once. I thought there was a burglar in my house. I was probably 12.
Oh, it's horrible.
And my parents were asleep. My parents were asleep in their room. My brothers were asleep in their room. I'm 12, 13, or 14, and it was a windy night, and the trees are knocking the house, and it sounds like doors are opening and windows, and I am hearing footsteps, and I'm like, these burglars, they're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. I woke up, Tom, just like you. I could not move. I was scared to death. I couldn't do anything at all. I was totally paralyzed.
It's a horrifically vulnerable feeling, and I've always attributed it to just, I don't know, overstimulation, too much caffeine. My brain turns off my body before I've never really done a ton of reading on it until now. There's a lot of connections to the UAP stuff, but in this moment, when I woke up, having had this dream of something watching there was a doorway in front of me that went into a hallway to the bathroom, and I woke up and I'm sort of in this sort of futon kind of thing, and there is what I realize now is a shadow figure, a 6 foot tall outline of a human being in the doorway, and I seeing that and I can't move, and I'm just kind of like, okay, so let's just close my eyes and try this again. And so I did, and I opened it again, and this thing is still standing there. And I was like, okay, we're getting along now. We're now like 10, 15, 20 seconds in. I close my eyes again. I'm like, okay, I'm awake. I open my eyes again, and it's still standing there. And I'm like, what are we going to do about it? I'm like, what are we going to do about this now? Like, here we are. What's next? And I would say over the course of a minute, it kind of faded. But it was so weird because it was definitely like a black on black. It was a deeper darkness inside the darkness that was absolutely visible and in the form of a person. And it was a weird apartment building, and I don't know what to say, but it was something got pulled out, felt like something got pulled out of my dream but yeah, weird times.
That's a hell of a story. Do you think that was would you categorize that as a ghost or some other kind of entity?
All I can say is the energy in this particular building. We're both in the same city. Maybe I'll point it out to you sometime. But
I used to live on Cloverdale. So
yeah. Cloverdale was right over, and that's where my Christina lived. And this place just had a vibe. So I don't know how to describe it, and that's why I feel like there's such a crossover between this phenomenon. That I do think some ghost phenomenon is probably connected to UAP, but we don't know what UAP are. We associate them with like outer space, and yet it feels all the conversations we have to do with something, a reality we can't perceive, right? That we're just not able to perceive all of the reality around us, and so it seems to lend itself the possibility that there's something else that can perceive more than we can. I'm babbling at this point because of course I have no idea.
I'm thinking that many incidents of sleep paralysis. Have you thought about getting like a hypno regression?
I know Christina would recommend it because she's she's just now punches me if it happens. It's because I make wonderful, terrible sounds when it's going on. I'm like, I'm trying because you can't.
Right, let me interject. Do you guys know who Yvonne Smith is? Yvonne Smith.
I know that she's an hypnotist, right? She's
a very, very famous hypnotherapist. She regresses people who have been abducted or have missing time. She lives in La Cañada, Tom. I'm going to be with her for 3 hours on the 21st. She's going to hypnotize me.
Oh, wow.
Because I'll tell you this story very, very quickly. This is in my brand new book, My Paranormal Life. Got to promote my books, and my mother yells at me because she watches you didn't promote your books, Danny. What's wrong with you?
Mom should yell about
I've got my copy right here. Oh no, that's not it.
That's not your book.
Pretend you wrote it, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm 5 years old, suburban New Jersey. 2 little girls lived across the street, sisters, older than me. Ding dong, they ring the bell. Go to my mom. Can Danny come out and play? Sure. So me and these 2 little girls, and we used to climb trees and fences. That's what we did. We climbed things. I remember very clearly. One day they said, let's climb up the billboard sign that's around the corner at the drugstore. Around the drugstore, block from my parents' house, a huge 30-foot tall billboard sign promoting a drugstore in a mini mall. The 3 of us went down there. We're climbing up inside the wooden skeleton lattice, that's propelling this billboard. Had to be 30 feet in the air. It had to be. So we're climbing up. I have having the time of my life, super fun. I remember so much fun. And then my hands slipped off one of the beams. I remember, this is one of my first memories of my life. My hand slipped. I saw my hand slip off the wooden beam. And then I go on my back and my face is looking at the sky. And you guys, I'm falling through the air in slow motion. I'm literally falling through the air in slow motion. These 2 girls above me, sisters, they're screaming, Danny. They see me falling. I'm falling in slow motion. Okay. Now, missing time. I have missing time. I wake up. It could be a minute later. It could be 2 hours later. I have no idea at the time. I wake up two blocks away inside an empty house on a couch. a furnished house. No one was home. So that's what I mean by empty. No one was home. I'd never been there in my life. I'm on a couch lying down. I remember when I opened my eyes thinking, am I alive or dead? I swear I remember thinking that. I sit up. I go, hello, anyone here? Anyone here? I'm 5. Anyone here? No one's there. I stand up. I turn to face the front screen door. There's a 7-foot tall cryptid. There's an entity. There's a being in front of the door. 7-foot tall, white chocolate color. The bottom half of this thing looked like a bull on 2 legs. A bull on 2 legs. The top half looked like it had been an angel, but it had wings clipped off because there were bony stumps where wings would have been attached to. And then it had the face of a bull. I'm telling you the truth. And I saw this thing. He turned his head over his right shoulder and he went like that. He snorted at me. He snorted at me. And I'm thinking, that thing doesn't like me very much. He doesn't like me. It was not a human, whatever that was. He goes through the front door. He walks away. I go outside. I look. I go, oh, there's Mommy's house 2 blocks away. I walk home. That's the whole story. I have no idea what that was. I have missing time, and Yvonne Smith is going to hypnotize me.
What house were you in?
Some strange house 2 blocks away.
You were in a
stranger's house 2 blocks away from the sign. Now, here's the thing, Tom. Those 2 little girls I was with, they weren't with me. They didn't carry me into they would have brought me to their mommy's house or to my mommy's house, right?
Yeah.
Logic. They lived across the street. They were nowhere. They were nowhere to be found.
Never ever play with 2 little girls who say, "Come play, Danny." Never ever. I mean, that's
Danny.
standard. Yeah.
Climb. You want to climb, Danny?
That's wow.
That's a true story. It's in my new book. The chapter's called "My Gargoyle." It's the first chapter. And Yvonne Smith. So, Tom, no one on planet Earth should have sleep paralysis 6 times in their life, let alone every month.
It sucks. Let me know how that goes. I'm very curious.
Okay. 3 hours in her office. I can't wait. I'm hoping to figure out what the hell happened in that.
Me too. Yes. Let us know if you find out what that thing was.
Yeah, I would love to. Real quick, we have to sort of wrap up. Any good stories? Contact in the desert? You meet anybody? You were like, oh, this is so great. You have fun stories? Anything?
Well, trying to think.
Other than me,
had a lovely time.
Kind of trouble did you get up to, Dave?
Didn't get into too much trouble. It was fun. I briefly meeting Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton.
Travis, yeah, me too. I'll tell you, that's the truth, David. My highlight was hanging with Travis Walton.
Yeah. We didn't get to hang out, but we got to at least say hi to him, and I at least was able to make him stare at me uncomfortably for a few seconds.
Aren't you looking at him thinking clearly, this guy, he's so soft-spoken and very sweet and mellow. I spent at least a half hour with him. I'm thinking, if this guy's a BS artist, but he's the king, because this guy is so genuinely warm and sincere and kind. And I'm thinking, what happened to this poor bastard, I believed him.
Oh,
when do you guys come out? When do you come out of hibernation? When does really come back?
We're banking some episodes. We'll have an announcement pretty soon. We've got some cool stuff going on and some kind of exciting changes. But we're very eager to get back to it. We're building up all this kind of momentum and I miss our little convos. So yes, very soon we're gonna have we will reappear on a.
As soon as I got into ufology really heavy last spring, and everyone said, "Really, Tom and Dave? Really, Tom and Dave? Really, Tom and Dave?" I go, "Okay, okay."
Nice.
Cool. And David, I emailed you, brother, at least 10, 15 times. Nothing. And then
You're not alone. You're not alone, Dan.
I met David at a private dinner party. He's sitting next to me. I'm like, Dave Foley? Really?
Yeah.
And then that's when we became friendly. So I love that you guys are my friends. Thank you very much.
And I never answer. I never read my email.
Clearly, I've heard that. And you don't have a bio and you don't have a phone.
Right.
But
we got to work on the bios, but
we got to work on all that stuff.
Thank you for having us, by the way. This was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's super fun. See you. You too. How can people reach you if they want to reach you?
Oh, we have our various. We have at Really with Tom and Dave on YouTube, right?
On YouTube, and on Instagram. We have an Instagram.
Yeah,
and I guess we each have I have my personal Instagram as well.
Okay,
which is out there.
All right, great. Tom, you and I are
give him your phone number, Dave.
Sure.
Hey, Dave, what's your cell? Tom, you and I are going to have deli.
Yeah.
I'm going to hook you up with Michael Stratt, and I'll tell you about Yvonne.
October 1st.
Thanks, you guys.
Race
is going to kill me. Race is going to kill me. Sorry, Race. We went long. I love you guys. Thanks,
Dan.
Thanks, Dan. See everybody next week. Live from Hollywood. It's Paranormal Tonight. Thanks, you all. See you later. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.